Happy Monday, you guys. I'm glad you're all here, taking the time out of the day for yourself. That's so important. Laura's going to share some really awesome stuff with us. It's going to help us through this tough time. I want to bring in the expert that knows about this stuff, and she definitely does. So let me give you guys a little on her. So her name's Laura Joseph. I have her. I love this little tagline you have on your Facebook page. It says, "Let me help you become your own superhero." So I had to definitely read that because I thought that was awesome. But as you guys know, you can learn more about her. Her website's laurahealingwithspirit.com. So definitely check out her website. She also has a Facebook page, Healing with Spirit. So you can check that out as well to learn more about her. But is there anything, I'll let you kind of get started. Laura, if you want, you can share a little bit more about yourself. And then I know she has 3 tips that she wants to share with you guys today about triggers and anxiety and all that kind of stuff. And we could talk about it all day long. We were just talking about this, but we're going to give you guys the Cliff Notes version of it. And of course, so you just want to talk for a little bit first, Laura, and then kind of take questions at the end. Is that the plan?
So I figured I'd give you guys a little bit of an intro about me, where I'm coming from, because I think that's important. So you know what view, what lens I'm coming from. And I think sometimes we miss that in our society. First of all, my ancestors are Celtic, Druid, Germanic, Slavic, Ukrainian, and Russian Gypsy. I live and primarily work on Massachusetts land, who are the original stewards and caretakers of this land. And I find, especially in these times, it's very important that we honor who the original stewards are, the land that we reside on, that took care of the land of what we now are living on. I have been providing spiritually based, integrative, holistic health enrichment services, classes, events, and retreats since 2006. I'm a seasoned healer, teacher, I'm an advocate, I'm a psychic medium, I'm a medical intuitive speaker, holistic health practitioner, trauma specialist, and some would actually even add to that list a spiritual badass. So I run multiple Facebook pages. One of them on top of Healing with Spirit is Healing Trauma Through Spirit. And we are in the process of also creating a Jikiden Reiki Association of Massachusetts with an amazing, diverse board of directors. And that's something that's been a long time coming, mostly due to legislative pressures. So, but sometimes we need external pressures to force us into the things that we need to be doing that we've been kind of hiding away from. And can you hear me okay? Because my earbuds just went on me. So, you hear me okay? Just want to make sure. Thumbs up?
Yes. Good. Slight feedback, but I can hear you.
Good.
Hey, Laura, do you want me to go ahead and mute everybody? And then if anybody wants to talk, you want me to go ahead and mute everybody now?
You can.
Okay, just so we don't have any background noise. Okay.
Sure. So I'm also a survivor of multiple traumas. The most recent one.
Oops, sorry, that was me. I muted you by accident. Sorry.
So, I'm coming from the lens too, because I'm also a survivor of multiple traumas. I'm not going to go into that, but includes some physical and emotional, which resulted in complex PTSD and traumatic brain injury. So my current teachers reside in actual Kyoto, Japan, as well as Lesbos, Greece. And in my healing path, what I have discovered was that the westernized, or I've been really using the term colonized versions of sacred ancient teachings that were nice, but I could only get so far as to like a surface deep, not really deep. And it was almost like very addictive because it gives you that kind of quick high, but nothing really deep and substantiating. But going into these ancient roots helped me deal with, and now I'm pretty much over the years, have now been off my medications. I treat any kind of symptoms holistically. I have friends of mine that lived in New York during 9/11, and they're actually comparing the traumas of what's happening with COVID to a lot of the symptoms and triggers of what they experienced during 9/11. So it's interesting to see how my triggers are showing itself right now and how I'm handling them and how we move forward. And what I've learned is that the triggers can show you several things. It can show you where you are. It can show you how far you've come, and it can also show you what you need to focus on and work on that's beyond what's on the surface. Through these practices, I've also avoided a hysterectomy and multiple surgeries and antibiotics for certain infections. So a lot of what I blend here comes from all those experiences. And what we're going to go into comes from a 15-year journey. So I do get real. Those who've worked with me know I tend to get real. I tend to get raw. But my overall intention, for the most part, is to help you become the best puzzle piece. Again, like Becky said, was to help you become your own superhero. But how do you know how to do that if we've been conditioned to turn our power over to everybody and everything in our society? So my job is to help you to become the best puzzle piece, because we are a part of a larger puzzle. And this morning, it's interesting, this morning I ran a morning group in my Facebook group that we do Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And we did some spiritual guidance type stuff. And I pulled a horse card, which actually has been showing up consistently over the past 2 years, especially with the political environment. And some of the messages that came up surrounding the horse medicine was to let go the illusion that we are victims, to understand that even with the quarantine and stay-at-home orders, that we still have a choice in every situation. That just might look differently on how we look at those choices, okay? But here's the opportunity to stop holding on to the old beliefs that saying that we have to suffer, we just have to suffer through it, or we just have to endure it. But once we can take the responsibility, then everything shifts. Even the outcomes and the expectations, everything just shift. And one of the things that we have the opportunity to look at now that has been growing, but a lot of us have been avoiding it for one reason or another, and that is understand that our soul chose to incarnate in the very body, the very being of who we are right now. When we can surrender to this, it gets more difficult to play victim. It gets very difficult for those triggers to grab hold and the anxiety to take over and the depression to control your life. We can easily navigate into the flows of life, and life then becomes more magnified. Does that make sense? Yes, I like thumbs up. Thumbs up, yes, no, no, yes. Okay, good, yay. Okay, so, and it's interesting because horse, and I wasn't planning on bringing this aspect in, but the fact that it showed up this morning in the meditation before we started, I said I kind of feel like I have to bring it in here. Because there's a reason. So like for those of you who do tarot and stuff like that, the horse is also correlates like the chariot in tarot, which is also about movement. It's about balance. It's about new journeys. And it's about, you know, getting into that part, that divine part of ourself. So what is happening energetically? Because I feel like this is important to understand our triggers. We have to understand where this is coming from. You got to understand that since we are a culture that has been conditioned to turn our power over or to have people think for us or do things for us, it's hard for us to understand, or it's like, you know, oh, you're grieving? Oh, just get over it. You know, you got anxiety? Just get over it. How many have been told that? Oh, it's just stress, go home and relax. Well, if you knew how to do that, you probably wouldn't be in your doctor's office. Okay, so this is how the society works. It's like, yeah, we know this, but how do we actually do this? Okay, so part of it is that like in healthcare, for instance, we're focused very linearly. Like you got an earache, okay, so let's just treat the ear. Not really looking at, well, is it coming from the gut? Is it coming from the spirit? Is it coming from a trauma trigger? What's the source? Okay, and I'm all about where's the source? Where's the root? So one, we have an epidemic of unresolved trauma in this country that goes back hundreds of years, and it's surfacing its ugly head now, okay? It's something that we have to change and we have to shift. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to honor and respect the Massachusetts people on the land that I reside on, because we did a lot of damage, you know? Even though my grandparents came over as immigrants, it's still those that might be connected to me, because again, we're a web, that are still responsible for some of these atrocities. So, and we have also normalized abuse in this country, and it's suffocating an area, it's suffocating us. And how is it suffocating us? it's showing up as illness, it's showing up as disease, it's showing up as gluttony, it's showing up as obesity, with no consequence or responsibility for our actions. A lot of it's not that we don't want to take responsibility, we just don't know how. The abuses on the planet is also reflective of the abuses we see on women and children in sex trafficking. There's a direct link here, okay? The raping that we're doing to our planet, and to, like, we look at, oh gosh, I'm having a brain fart, on, oh my God, the oil. I'll get to it. But, you know, it has the palm kernel oil, okay? You might like chocolate, and you might like Hershey, and you might like Nutella, but those have palm kernel oil. And it's actually devastating right now, the orangutans and the environment in the areas of the Philippines. Like, these are things, this is all the web that we're talking about that's affecting us, you know? And we're doing this collectively, again, with no consequences, okay? The coronavirus is really kind of showing us as a wake-up call. How are we buying, okay? How are we buying? And are we living sustainably? Are we rising up and getting involved in social justice, or are we just talking about it on social media and say somebody else will do it? Right? How many, I mean, if you get real, you get raw. How many of you, I mean, I know I've done it. We've all done it, okay? We've all done it. We've all said, well, you know what? I'm tired today. So-and-so will take care of that for us because they're very passionate about it, right? No, this is the year. It's 2020. It's about us all collectively rising up and not depending on anybody else to do it for us, okay? How we treat our elders, think about this one. What is coronavirus mostly targeting? How we treat our elders is in direct correlation of what we're seeing here. Do we honor them? Do we honor their wisdom? Back in the days when we had real communities, we used to sit in circles and the elders would tell stories. And then those stories would get passed on, okay? Do we do that? How many are in nursing homes right now alone? How many are sitting in ICU right now alone, dying? Okay, literally. Are we honoring the sacred? The resurgence of this ancestral wisdom, teachings, and connection are all connected. And here's one terminology. How many of you seeing what we're experiencing as isolation or quarantine? Raise your hand. Okay. How many are you seeing it as cocooning? Okay. But I want you to get real with yourself. Are you using the language of isolation or are you using the language of cocooning? Because there's a difference. Okay. This is how the subconscious seeds itself in our mind. And when we can see this as cocooning, how many of you have been seeing like videos? I mean, I know those have been following me, know I've been doing videos on this stuff for a couple of years about the transition and morphing into the butterfly. Okay. And how many said like, geez, I would love to be that butterfly, right? We've all done it. But if I said to you what it takes to become the butterfly means that you have to go into isolation, into a very dark place by yourself. You have to give up everything, your entire life of who you were as a caterpillar, everything, in order to become that butterfly. We don't think about that processing, right? But that's really the process of what we're in right now, okay? This is the call. It's the cocooning. And so it's a great time to deal with those shadows. I'm not going to go into this aspect, but I have a whole blog that I posted on my website in January that talks about all the things that 2020 was going to show us. And one of them is dealing with our shadows. It's dealing with what's in our shadows. A lot of it's the trauma triggers. So the things that are surfacing that are triggering you right now, a lot of it may have absolutely nothing to do with coronavirus. Hear me on this. If we really look at it, because if it's triggering you, it has something to do with something prior. And if you trace that trigger to whatever that previous incident was, then now you have your answer to root that out, to either heal it, release it, make peace with it, befriend it, whatever it may be, okay? Then it can no longer trigger you, okay? So this is the whole spiritual bypassing that I go into in that post. What are some symptoms? So let's just raise a hand. How many of you know some of your triggers? like some of your symptoms of your triggers when it happens. Okay. So it can be physical and it can be emotional. I think a lot of people think of like just flashbacks and nightmares as like rooted triggers, but it can also be pain in your back. My knee just went out. Okay. I got a cramp in my hand. Okay. So it doesn't necessarily have to be always the things that we classify as a trigger. It can come out in ways of, geez, why did I just rip that person's, a new butthole? They were just trying to help me, right? But that's a form of a trigger, because if we're reacting in that kind of heightened emotional way, then that's something else. Because if we're not coming at it from a calm, grounded, rooted place, then that reaction is trying to show us something, okay? And here I want to be clear. This is not a let's beat ourselves up because we're not doing something right. This is let's build the awareness so we can shift the vibration, shift the frequency, and come into your power and honor those lessons, okay? Those unexplained aches, those unexplained, especially, here's a trigger. I had somebody that came to me a couple of years ago, post-op for a knee replacement. 2 of them, by the way. The first one didn't take, and they had to go back in there the second time within a year. We rooted this out, stemming from military trauma, but the trigger that was really triggering it was they had, their first child was a stillborn, and their child was trying to have children, and their first pregnancy was a miscarriage. That's when the knee problems started. So this is how triggers can manifest into specific illness and disease, okay? So now we have, does that kind of understand like where we're at and how we got to here? Yes? If you have any questions, please use the comment box and type it in, and I'll have Becky kind of read it off to me. That way we don't get all this muffled. So if you have questions that you don't understand, make sure you type in there and I can get to them. So here are 3 tips, because here's the thing. If we're dealing with anxiety and not being able to sleep and the stress, like how am I going to pay my mortgage? Am I going to be out of a job? What's going to happen? My health insurance, right? Those are all coming from up here, right? When we can surrender and come from a place of soul, the soul is actually going to guide you and show you exactly what you need to do to survive this, because you are built and fully equipped to overcome this naturally. This is our obstacle that prevents us, and that chronic thinking, which then creates a fog for us and our inability to see clearly. Does that make sense to you all? Yes, thumbs up, so I know, or thumbs down, or if you're not sure, do this, okay? All right, so here are 3 tips. 1 is, we're gonna do some body inventory. 2 is mastering presence. And 3 is working through toxic emotions and how to do that. So with body inventory, the first thing, how many of you actually have done some body work, like going in and body awareness stuff? Okay. This is very, very basic. The first part you want to do is you want to look at the internal environment versus your external awareness. So your internal awareness versus your external awareness. So the first thing you want to do is, if you want to, we can kind of work through this as I'm talking. So if you want to kind of get yourself sit, and I'll kind of walk you through and just kind of listen and see, because you'll be able to play it on replay if you need to take notes, okay? But kind of just sit. And what I want you to do, just kind of close your eyes. And what I want you to do is just focus on the outside world. So, and you want to start your sentence maybe off like, I am aware of, okay? So, for example is, I'm aware of the cars driving by outside, the smell of my juice sitting in front of me, the color of my brown seat that I am sitting on, okay? So you want to pay attention. This is what you see, this is what you hear, this is what you smell, all in your external environment. Everybody getting that? Okay. Now we're going to shift your awareness to the internal environment and what that looks like. So after you become aware of everything that's around you, you want to shift your focus in the internal, on your body and your physical sensations, your internal world. So in this case, it's going to be like, I am aware that I am a little chilly right now. My stomach is saying I am hungry. My mind might be racing a little bit, wondering if I'm missing anything. Okay. Boy, I've got some tension in my neck and my shoulders. My teeth might be clenched, or geez, I'm actually more relaxed than I thought I would be. Okay. This is the reflection on your internal environment. Everybody getting this? Yes? Okay. So now what I want you to do is just shuffle between your internal environment and your external environment, okay? And the awareness of both, okay? So this might look like I am aware of the chest pressing up against my butt. I can hear the wind blowing outside my window. My shoulders are actually clenched a little upwards. I can smell lavender in my space, okay? So this is a blend of knowing what's internal and external going together. Now this is something, especially if you don't know, and you don't have a sense of awareness yet or know how to, this is something, an exercise that I would encourage you to do to practice during your free moments during the day. This takes literally, as you notice, less than 5 minutes to do this, okay? This will allow you to separate and appreciate the difference between your inner world and your outer world. And it will also help you understand and build that awareness within yourself to know what to shift and what is yours and what is not yours. What you can control and what you cannot control. Everybody got that so far? Yes? Okay. So the second part with this is after you have done that and you feel comfortable is you kind of want to scan your body, right? So, and I usually do this a lot, especially if you've been triggered or like I hear some people say just seeing what's going on in the news is enough to get them angry, get them frustrated, get them anxious, to get them stressed. Well, this is where I want you to pause. This is where the body scanning part is. This is where I want you to pause. I want you to pause and take inventory on the internal body. I want you to scan, kind of like those shopping red scanners, right? You're going to go, what you're doing is you're scanning your body. And the fact that you reacted like, oh my God, I can't believe that. Well, that's not coming from a place of being grounded and centered, okay? So you got to look at that. Where is that really coming from? And not only that, where is it showing up in the physical body? Is it showing up in your jaw? Is it showing up in your neck? Is it showing up in your shoulders, your back, your hips? The other day, my hips were screaming at me and I go, okay. And I knew it wasn't that it was arthritis or maybe there's something wrong there. I sat with it and I listened to it. I talked to it and I heard, you have a fear of moving forward, which is probably because of what's happening right now, okay? So what minute I brought the awareness there, I haven't had the hip pain since, okay? So this is where the mind-body connection comes in, okay? And then once you can root that and you have that connection, befriend it, ask it, okay, you've got tension there. Where is that really coming from that has nothing to do with what just triggered it? Okay? And when you can do that, then what happens is everything else shifts. And then instead of you thinking like, am I gonna need back surgery? Am I gonna need a hip replacement? Am I getting dementia? Okay, instead of our mind going there and creating assumptions and conclusions, we can make peace with that. And before you know it, you actually just took your power back because the pain just went away. How many of you experience that right now? Raise your hands. Okay. So what this is showing you is that you actually have more power to take your power back and to relieve your own stress more than you think you do. So my question to you is, when did you lose your power? When did you think your body wasn't equipped to heal itself? When did you lose that belief system? Let's get back there. Okay, so when you're done and you have that link, listen to what the body needs. This is where you adopt the pace of nature Okay. So like last Monday, the new moon, after I did my morning thing, all of a sudden I was like, holy shit, I have no idea what just hit me. I ended up sleeping. I took a nap at 10:30. I got up at 3 p.m. I was up for an hour and I was back in bed for the rest of the day. Did I feel guilty about it? Absolutely not. Because I know that I can make up my work, because this is a good thing about being self-employed. Instead of taking Saturday off, I worked for a couple hours to make up what I did on Monday. Okay. And I just learned to adopt the pace of nature and to also honor what my body says it needs. So if that means it says I need rest, I need to take a nap, I need to exercise and burn some of this stuff off, I need to change my diet, this food doesn't feel good, okay? My partner just had that experience with food this weekend, with just having a dinner, an alcoholic drink at dinner. And this has never happened before. He actually got physically sick from that one drink. And he goes, I think that's telling me something. I go, yep. It means that alcohol no longer serves a purpose in your life. You see, so, and it was showing in physical, and that was just one drink, by the way. That never happened before. So it's like the body's going to show you things, and you're going to be like, what? Okay? And it could be meditation. I need some more meditation. I need to be out in nature more. I need to be by the ocean. Listen to those cues, but you have to start with what we just did earlier, with knowing your internal and your external awareness to know even how to get there, okay? So the more we can go into this, actually we'll be going more into this aspect into a class I'm going to be developing called Tapping into the Wisdom of the Body. So which will go into these aspects on a much deeper level. So the next phase is the second tip is to master presence. I like this terminology versus mindfulness, because the term mindfulness is like, geez, your mind is just full, right? So it's full of what? Full of crap? Full of stuff, right? So and I like mastering presence, because what does that mean, all right? And through my teachers in Japan, it's Kyo-Daki-wa, just for today. Kyo-Daki-wa. And if you just even keep saying Kyo-Daki-wa, 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 where does worry, where does anger, where does depression fit into that? Can you possibly be angry, depressed, anxious, frustrated, worried while you're being present? You can't. It's actually impossible. Okay? This is where I say you want to work towards, is the Buddha saying, mastering the calm within the storm. Okay? I live near the beach, and they have a big storm wall that thinks it's going to stop the ocean, and I just laugh at it, because every time the ocean comes over and washes the buildings, and I go, you can't stop what is. All you can do is, and actually it creates more friction. So all you can do is learn how to navigate and master the calm within the storm when you're in it. So how many of you, since this whole thing started about 2-3 weeks ago, have been struggling with staying diligent in your exercise, your yoga, or your meditative practices, for those of you who do it? Okay? Don't beat yourself up, because this is how triggers show up. Okay? Triggers show up because it throws you off, because you're being triggered. And then what happens? You're actually in a what? What's a trigger? Fight, flee, or freeze. So in this moment, by avoiding it, you're actually either fleeing or you're freezing. I know a lot of my triggers result in the freeze. Okay? And then when you recognize it and you go, oh, I'm actually freezing. You don't beat yourself up, you just bring the awareness and you go, okay, so now how do I shift that, okay? So for those who are struggling with that, this is where I find bringing yourself back to present is important, because when you can bring yourself back to present, the meditation, the exercise, the yoga, or whatever routines that you do will start to get hold again, okay? So what does presence look like? Again, as I said, it's mastering that calm. And this is that mastering the calm of the storm is actually a good gauge to know exactly where you're at. Because if you're not mastering the calm of the storm, then your emotions or whatever triggers are controlling you versus you controlling your life. Okay? And if you are mastering the calm within the storm, you will know. And here's an example of what happened. I thought I was mastering the calm very well. I mean, again, I have 15 years experience trying to get myself here. About 2 or 3 years ago, I went to an event, and this is a very seasoned group of healers, and we did some reenactment of the Salem witch trials and the burning times, and really going into healing the trauma and what that looks like. And what I found myself noticing is when we went into the circle part, I thought I was apathetic because my PTSD is so used to being so emotional. I thought I was actually being apathetic because I didn't know how to feel anything. And I actually had to sit with this. And I actually went and saw a therapist over this, okay? This is how bad it was. And then I realized I actually got to know what being present felt like for the first time. And when your emotions spend so much of our lives controlling them, we really don't know what presence looks like. We think we do. But it shows up in the subconscious. Again, it shows up in our reactions. It shows up in those subtle ways, okay? Like we just all of a sudden might get angry over something stupid, okay? Or we just, had all of a sudden we wake up and we go, geez, my hip is hurting me today, okay? So it shows up in very peculiar ways. And when we can just take a moment and just be, it will either resolve itself or it will show you where to go so you can resolve it, okay? So tools for staying present include the breath. I like doing the breath, breathing in 3 and out 5. So you always, and when you breathe from the belly. So you breathe in 3 and you breathe out 5. Just try that for a moment. Breathing in 3 and out 5. When you want to do it, making the noise. You want to hear yourself breathing in your nose and out your mouth. You want to hear that breath out your mouth. Breathing in and out your mouth. Again, this is multisensory, okay? There's more than just what we think is going on here. That brings us back to center. Another way of staying present is grounding. How many have been itching going out and gardening? Okay? This is how the subconscious works of helping you stay present. Okay? It's getting your hands physically into the dirt. It's putting your hands into the ocean. It's putting your hands on a tree. It's maybe just going outside and having a couple deep breaths of air because you just need it. Okay? That's grounding. It's connecting with the heartbeat of this planet. Believe it or not, this planet has its own heartbeat. Okay? So it's tapping into that. Okay? Because we're all connected. When we're driving, are we thinking about what we got to do, what we got to get at the store, where we're going and why? Or are we focusing on my hands are on the wheel, here's this car in front of me, what street am I on? That's staying present. When we're cooking, are we putting our mind on, I got to do this, I got to call so-and-so, I got to send this email out, or did I talk to this person and respond to that? Or I just want to be on social media right now and get the distraction, okay? Or is it on thinking about the food that you're dicing up, how is it harvested, where did it come from, how is it grown, and how is it going to put medicine into your body? This is how presence comes in, okay? And the final one is working with our toxic emotions, okay? So when we work with our toxic emotions, as I mentioned to you earlier, when I started understanding some of the ancient ways that to blend in with the medicine that we have in modern times, the energy shifts. The energy just shifts. And it also shifts with our intentions, okay? So with that, and this is something I did, what I'm going to go into now is something I didn't comprehend for 10 years as a Reiki teacher, okay? And it really took me studying with the Japanese and studying with my Japanese teachers to really understand the rootedness, which is based in more Shinto and Japanese Buddhist roots, And then I was like, all of a sudden realizing how much that's what actually when I got off my medication, by the way. That's when I started overcoming the health issues. I mean, everything I'm speaking about, I've walked, okay? So this aspect is, have anybody heard of the Reiki principles or the Gokai? How many of you use it every day? Okay. Do you say it in English or do you say it in Japanese? English? Okay. And I'll tell you why. Okay. This is something, trust me, this took me 15 years to really understand. It took me 15 years to understand this concept so much that I actually have a pending book just on the Gokai. It's in the editing phase right now, on how to heal chronic illness and trauma through the Gokai as the secrets to healing. All right. And so the Gokai is a way to work through these toxic emotions, these triggers, the anger, the worry. Okay. Now, it is considered spiritual medicine for the mind and body through the original teachings out of Japan. Okay. This is not a Western concept. All right. So these teachings are rooted in Shinto and Buddhist cultures in Japan. Now, it wasn't until 500 AD that Japan even had a written language, and that came over when Buddhism was actually imported from China. So, because in Shinto, everything was connected into nature. They correlated everything, and everything was rooted in dialogue. Why? Because they believed in what's called Kododama. Kododama is words have spiritual power. And in my book, I even bring up gaslighting. How many know the word gaslighting? Raise your hand. Okay. How many don't know what gaslighting is? Okay. So gaslighting was a term of a form of abuse that was coined after a 1944 movie called Gaslight. It was actually Ingrid Bergman's first role and Charles Boyer. And it's actually a murder mystery, but it's a way of manipulating the mind, okay? We're seeing actually a lot of gaslighting happening systemically right now. And I'll leave it at that. And I'll give you an example of this. In the movie, Charles Boyer gives his wife this brooch, and he says to her, you know, please hold this brooch, and it was my mother's, and you know, it meant everything, and the family says, all I have left of her, and she says, yes, and I puts it in my bag, and I go, I will hold this, I treasure this for the rest of my life. And then what he does is he makes sure that they are in an event with over 200 people there, and he says, do you have that brooch for me? Oh, yes, I do. She opens up her bag, and it's not there. And he goes, how could you do that to me? How could you do that to me? That was my family. And what actually happened? He took it out to make her look like she was going crazy. And he made sure to do this in front of 200 people. So those 200 people thought she was losing her mind. Okay? It's the hardest. I have over 10 years working with victims of domestic violence and advocacy work. It's the most, to my opinion, it's the most lethal form of abuse and the most difficult form to prove in a court of law, okay? But my question to you is, are you even gaslighting yourselves? Think about that, okay? Words have spiritual power, kyo dakiwa, okay, which is just for today. But kododama is the words have spiritual power. So the Gokai is the spiritual medicine. Because when the founder of Reiki found out that when people were returning, those that were returning had psychological or emotional stuff that wasn't resolved, that was manifesting in physical illness or disease, okay? This is why with Westernized Reiki, we don't see cures in Westernized Reiki. But I can tell you in the way it's done in Japan, and since I switched this, I've been doing this in a medical practice that I work in, I'm seeing people getting cured from things that wasn't happening elsewhere. I actually met somebody who had stage 4 ovarian cancer, that this actually saved their life. They were given less than 8 weeks to live, okay? We don't get this result. And there's nothing with any practitioner here. Please don't, I don't want to, it's not about that. It's our culture. This is our culture. This is how we've been colonized as a culture. And we have to recognize that part of our triggers is part of the shame that we have been conditioned as women as a colonized mindset. Okay, even down to the word marriage. When we look at marriage, marriage is what? Marriage back in the day was my father paid a dowry to some guy to own me. Okay, now we see women that are taking their power back. So when we understand how colonization is actually infecting our thoughts and our toxic emotions, then we can heal them and take our power back. It's all connected. Kodadama, words have spiritual power. Think of gaslighting, okay? So if you can harm somebody just through word, then you can heal somebody through word. So if we know that words harm, why can't we believe that words can actually heal as well? So most of today, we're not aware of the magic behind the Gokai, which is what I go into the book, because it goes into a whole nother, I didn't realize it was going to turn into a book. It was supposed to be just a blog post or a Facebook post, and it was a blog post, and then a chapter, and I go, no, this is too much. But it's all medically vetted back. I blend in my story. I blend in medical science, okay? And so what does this all mean? So Kyodaki wa is about staying present. When we look at the toxic, what are the toxic emotions? How many have been feeling a lot of anger in the past few weeks, if we're honest with ourselves? Okay? How many have been feeling frustration, anxiety, stress? Okay? Those are rooted in the first two principles of the Gokai, by the way, that when you understand that, those are also the toxic emotions linked to almost every illness and disease, because it lowers your vibration. The antidote to that is actually gratitude, but not gratitude in the sense of I'm thankful for my house, I'm thankful for my car, I'm glad I'm not ill. It brings me back to like Wayne Dyer's videos, okay, way back when he would just get out of bed and just be thankful, thank you, thank you, thank you. It is being grateful for the sake of being grateful with no attachment assigned to it. That, as a trauma survivor, was a really hard one for me to grasp and understand, okay? The fourth one is all about doing your duties fully. So like here, you're all on Zoom, right? Are you showing up fully? 100%, or is your mind wandering someplace else? Okay, this is not to beat up on anybody. This is about how we be gentle with ourselves while we work on the things that are showing us to get better and become better. Okay, again, my job isn't to bash you, it is to make you your own superhero. It's to make you the best of who you are. So doing your duties, so like staying present, cooking dinner, working with your clients, okay, working on your job, working, whatever it might be, are you doing it 100%? Do your duties fully. And the last one is be kind to others. And I'm going to challenge you. How many of you are kind to others right now? And I'm going to call out bullshit. And I'll tell you why. Okay? Don't get mad. We cannot fully be kind to others if we are angry, worried, stressed, frustrated, not doing our duties fully, and not living in a place of gratitude. End of story. That's how the energy works. Okay? So the challenge is how do we stay present? Kyodaki wa. How do we not be angry? Ikaruna. Do you know that, by the way, in Japan, they have two words for the word anger? They have ikaruna and okuruna. Okuruna is the kind of anger like, I leave my office here, I pull out of the parking lot, somebody comes flying by because they're just clueless, and I go, you motherfucker! Ah! But I pull out and I go, oh, okay, I'm gonna let it go. Because I want to infect my day, and I let it go. Ikaruna is the kind of anger, and you can just smell it like booze off somebody's pores. Okay? It is deep-seated, it is rooted, it's stuck in there. They're living from a place of anger, and most people don't even realize they're doing it when they're doing it, okay? So it's coming from that place. So and it doesn't mean that we don't get angry. It's that when it surfaces, what are you doing with it, okay? When worry shows up, what are you doing with it? Are you letting it control you, or are you befriending it? Are you making peace with it? Are you asking where it's coming from? Are you asking where it's rooted? All these different things. And are you staying present in the same time while you're doing this? And are you doing your work duties fully while you're doing this? You see how it gets all interlooped? Okay? So, and this is where creating a ritual and dedication, just like Becky is an expert in fitness, and she knows that in order to be productive, you've got to do it at a regular interval on a regular basis, right, Becky? Yeah. So it's the same thing. Regardless of what you do, you have to. And I don't like the word discipline. And this made me realize, because I am the total rebellious chick, always have been. You tell me something not to do, I'm the one that will do it the opposite, okay? Always been that way. I was the black sheep of my family. And here's the thing. It's not discipline. Because discipline to me is work. And I just go, ugh, I really don't want to do it because it's discipline. But if it's a lifestyle, and it's part of the lifestyle you want to create, feel the shift in your body just by thinking that word, and feel how much lighter that terminology is versus discipline. You all feeling that? You feel the difference just in the words, in the body? Yes? Okay. So when you make it part of your lifestyle and you create it as a ritual and as a dedication, then you start working through a lot of these toxic emotions instead of taking a pill, because it's not like taking a pill. A pill's going to give you a quick little Band-Aid. Okay. Does it mean that some people need it? Yes. But the pill isn't the solution. The pill is just to help you get a grip enough so you can work on it so it doesn't take over. And what has happened is that we've turned our power over to taking pills or a medical procedure. And this is why our healthcare system is broken, because I'm getting people from Bakersfield, Mass General that aren't getting better, and they're coming to me, and I have to remind my clients I'm not a doctor. But I understand this one concept. And this is where healthcare is broken, okay? So now if you want to sit, and we can and I can walk you through what this feels like, okay? So you want to put your hands, if you want to call it prayer position, we call it gaso, and you want your thumbs kind of facing into your heart, and that's helping you remind you that you're in this space, okay? And you want to, again, focus on that breathing coming from your tandem area. And when you do, you just want to repeat, and this is what you want to do out loud, by the way. You don't want to do this in your head. Again, it's all about the resonance. It's the multisensory perspective and how your body and everything else is receiving it. So you want to repeat after me. Kyodaki wa. Ikaruna. Shinpai suna. Kanchaste. Gyo hagame. Itoni shinsetsuni. Kyodaki wa. Ikaruna. Shinpai suna. Kanchaste. Gyo hagame. Itoni shinsetsuni. Kyodaki wa. Ikaruna. Shinpai suna. Kanchaste. Gyo hagame. Itoni shinsetsuni.